Halloween had always been special in our sleepy little town of Larkspur. The streets were adorned with pumpkins, faux spider webs, and ghastly decorations. Children in costumes roamed from house to house in the early evening, their joyful shrieks resonating in the crisp fall air. Yet as the night wore on, and the little witches and superheroes retreated to their homes, a more somber ambiance settled in. Tales of the supernatural and the unexplained seemed to emerge from the very walls of the old buildings, especially during the witching hour. That particular Halloween, I had decided to host a small gathering for friends. It was a mix of old college buddies and a few colleagues, all eager to share spooky tales and reminisce about the past. As the night progressed, wine flowed, and so did the laughter, occasionally interrupted by someone swearing they'd seen a shadow pass by the window or heard a strange noise from the hallway. We'd laugh it off, attributing it to the season's spirit. But as the grandfather clock struck midnight, an assertive knock echoed through the house. The suddenness of the sound silenced our chatter, and a puzzled expression spread across the faces in the room. Nobody expected any visitors at this hour. With a growing sense of unease, I approached the door. Peering through the peephole, all I saw was the darkness of the night, broken intermittently by the flickering streetlight. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door a crack. There, bathed in the dim glow of the porch light, stood a figure. She seemed to be an old woman draped in a long tattered shawl, her face mostly hidden beneath a hood. What I could see of her face was pale and wrinkled, and her eyes, an eerie shade of blue, seemed to pierce right through me. "Lost," she croaked, her voice sounding as though it hadn't been used in years. "Need shelter." Taken aback, I hesitated. The rules of hospitality battled with the creeping dread filling my heart. Before I could reply, she added, "On All Hallows' Eve, one mustn't be left outside." Chills ran down my spine. My friends, sensing my apprehension, approached the door. Seeing her, they too were taken aback. While some whispered about calling the police or letting her in, she remained still, her icy gaze never leaving mine. Finally, thinking of the old tales of Halloween when spirits roamed the earth and sought refuge, I stepped aside. "Come in." This choice would lead to the most bizarre and chilling Halloween of my life. The old woman stepped into the warmth of the house, leaving wet footprints on the wooden floor. I hadn't noticed before, but she was drenched from head to toe, as if she had been caught in a rainstorm, although the night had been clear. With a gesture, I guided her to the living room, her presence casting an odd silence over my guests. She took a seat, her hands marred by age and exposure, clasping and unclasping as if in anxiety. "Would you like something warm to drink?" I ventured. She simply nodded. After handing her a mug of steaming tea, I sat across from her, waiting for her to speak. The minutes stretched on, creating an atmosphere so tense it felt like the room could shatter from the weight of our collective anticipation. Finally, she broke the silence. "You've allowed me sanctuary on this sacred night, and for that I owe you a tale." She began her tale, her voice barely above a whisper, yet every word dripped with a chilling intensity. "Decades ago, in this very town, I loved a man named Thomas. We were the envy of all, a love so passionate, it felt as if the world would crumble should we ever part. The air in the room became dense, chilling each of us to our cores. One cold autumn evening, I unearthed a series of hidden letters in our home," she began, each penned with the undeniable flourish of my younger sister's handwriting, recounting intimate moments and whispered promises with Thomas. She hesitated, the pain evident in her eyes. But I chose to ignore them, to bury the thought. I convinced myself that these letters were nothing more than elaborate fabrications. It was impossible to believe that the two people I loved most could betray me in such a way. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before continuing. "However, the universe has a cruel way of revealing the truth. On one fateful night, I accidentally walked in on them, together, their laughter echoing in our home, their secret unveiled in the most heart-wrenching way." Her voice quivered, the weight of her memories pressing down. Betrayed and enraged, a sinister thought crept into my mind. I planned a dinner under the guise of mending bridges, but with an ulterior motive. To confront them, to make them confess, to feel the searing pain they'd inflicted upon me. She clasped her hands tightly. That night, hoping to put them off guard, I laced their wine with a substance meant to sedate, to make them vulnerable to my confrontation. But I miscalculated its potency. Her face paled, her voice barely above a whisper. By morning, I found them, still in each other's arms, lifeless. The realization of what I had unintentionally done consumed me. She looked around, her gaze piercing. Every Halloween since, guilt compels me to wander, to share this dark tale, seeking understanding, if not redemption, from those willing to listen. The room fell silent, the magnitude of her confession echoing in our stunned minds, a grim testament to the dangerous dance of love, betrayal, and vengeance. My guests, previously chatty and cheerful, now exchanged wide-eyed glances. The festive air, filled earlier with laughter and light-hearted banter, now bore a heavy sense of unease. Someone cleared their throat, but no one spoke up immediately. The old woman looked up, her eyes searching each of our faces. "Thank you for listening," she whispered, her voice breaking the tension. One of my friends finally spoke up. "That's a harrowing story. Is there anything we can do to help?" The woman sighed deeply, her gaze distant. "I wish there were. Every year I hope to find a resolution, some way to break my endless sorrow. But all I seek is understanding, a moment of respite." I nodded slowly, empathy weighing on my chest. "You found that tonight, at least?" Her lips twitched into a weak smile. "Yes, and I'm grateful." The evening continued, but the old woman's tale had cast a shadow over our gathering. Conversations became hushed, and the topic often circled back to her and her haunting story. As the night wore on, guests began to make their excuses and leave. I noticed the old woman had vanished. No goodbyes, no indication of her departure. All that remained was the empty mug of tea table and the chilling memory of her tale. For years to come, that Halloween night would be remembered not for the costumes or the candy, but for the mysterious visitor who left us with a tale that haunted our dreams. Would she find peace? Or would she wander, a specter of the past searching for solace? The questions lingered, unanswered. The faint echo of children's laughter, still resonating from earlier Halloween festivities, melded with the smell of freshly fallen leaves and distant chimneys just beginning to burn the season's first logs. The slightly ajar window let in the cool bite of October air, causing the sheer curtains decorated with small, ghostly figures to sway gently. My living room was illuminated by the flickering light of jack-o'-lanterns, their grotesque faces casting eerie shadows on the walls. The distant howl of the wind and the occasional hoot of an owl were the only reminders of the outside world, save for the rich aroma of spiced pumpkin tea wafting from my cup. As I nestled into my couch, a spine-chilling horror novel in hand, I anticipated a night of fictional frights, with my cat Midnight as my only company. Midnight, a sleek black feline aptly named for nights just like this, had found a cozy spot on the armrest, his green eyes half closed, his purrs a soft rumble. But just as I was immersing myself into the world of haunted houses and vengeful spirits, a sudden knock broke the tranquility. It was deliberate and oddly rhythmic, like the beats of a ghostly drum. It seemed out of place for the night, especially since I was expecting no visitors and friends usually respected my Halloween night rituals. Gently setting my book aside, I rose, feeling a chill unrelated to the cold. Midnight's purring had ceased, his gaze fixed intently on the entrance. Trying to muster some courage and dismiss the tales of the night, I thought perhaps it was just a late trick-or-treater or a neighbor. But a niggling doubt persisted. Through the peephole, a man stood, draped in a nondescript delivery uniform, holding a package wrapped in brown paper. It should have been a scene of normalcy, but the atmosphere was thick with a Halloween suspense. There was an intangible sense of unease, for in the midst of All Hallows' Eve, the mundane had transformed into the mysterious. I opened the door slightly, keeping the chain latch in place. The delivery man looked normal enough, mid-30s, a little scruffy from what must have been a long day, and he wore a standard blue uniform with a generic Delivery Express logo. But his eyes held an odd look, almost like he was unsure of what he was doing. "Evening, package for Alex Morgan." His voice held no particular emotion. "That's me," I replied cautiously, "but I don't recall ordering anything." He shrugged. "I just deliver them. Don't know much else. Sign here, please." Hesitantly, I closed the door momentarily to undo the chain. When I reopened it, I took the package and scribbled my signature on his electronic pad. The weight of the package was unexpected, neither too heavy nor featherlight, but oddly warm to the touch. "Have a good evening," he said, turning away quickly and heading down the corridor of my apartment building. I shut the door, locking it securely. The package was wrapped plainly, sealed with clear tape. There were no markings on it, just my name scrawled in messy handwriting. Whiskers approached, sniffing it curiously before letting out a low growl, something I'd never seen her do. The room felt suddenly colder as I hesitated, fingers hovering over the package. Whiskers had settled at a distance, her eyes still fixated on it with an uneasy intensity. It wasn't like her to be so wary of an inanimate object. I contemplated the idea of opening it, driven by both curiosity and the slight annoyance of an unexpected delivery disrupting my peaceful evening. But before I could act, my phone emitted a shrill, urgent tone. It was an alert message from the local neighborhood watch, a group I'd joined a few months back after a series of minor break-ins in the area. My heart rate quickened as I read, "Emergency. If you receive an unexpected package tonight, do not open it. Suspicious activity reported in the area." I froze, the weight of the warning sinking in. The coincidence was too eerie. I looked at the package, its plain exterior now menacing. A myriad of questions swirled in my head. Was I targeted? Why? Who sent this? Suddenly, the soft glow of my living room lamp seemed insufficient, shadows appearing to take on a more sinister form. The muffled sounds from the city outside now sounded distant and distorted. A chilling thought crossed my mind. What if the delivery man was in on it? I slowly approached the window, peering through the curtains to the street below. The typical evening sights and sounds of the city presented themselves, but the delivery man was nowhere to be seen. Clutching my phone, I dialed the number of the neighborhood watch, my fingers trembling. The line rang once, twice, then connected. The knock echoed again, this time louder, more assertive. "Mr. Morgan, it's Officer Daniels. Please open the door. We're here to help." The rational part of my mind urged me to trust the voice, but the evening's events had disrupted any semblance of rationality. Taking a deep breath, I approached the bedroom door, removing the chair I had wedged as a makeshift barricade. Whiskers mewed nervously, her tail flicking with anxiety. I moved slowly, every footstep weighted with caution. As I approached the main door, I peered through the peephole. A uniformed officer stood there, badge visible, accompanied by a couple of other officers. Drawing the chain back, I opened the door slightly. "Officer Daniels?" He nodded. "Yes, Mr. Morgan, we received reports of suspicious packages being delivered in the area. Can we see yours?" I led them to the living room, pointing out the package on the table. One of the officers, equipped with gloves, cautiously examined it, while another took pictures. "Has it been opened?" Officer Daniels asked. "No," I replied, my voice shaky. "I received a warning right after it was delivered." He nodded, signaling for the officer with gloves to carefully open the package. Inside, nestled among bubble wrap, was a small wooden box with intricate carvings and an old-fashioned key sticking out from its side. "It's a music box," I whispered, confused. Officer Daniels looked grim. "There have been similar deliveries around town. It seems harmless, but when opened by the intended recipient, the box plays a certain tune that has certain effects. We're still not sure of the specifics." "Effects?" My heart raced again. Some have reported feeling disoriented, even blacking out for a while. Others said they felt a compulsion to do things they wouldn't normally do. It seems to be a form of psychological warfare. I sank into my couch, trying to process everything. Who would do this? Why? "We're working on finding that out," Daniels replied. "For now, we'll take the box for analysis, and we recommend staying with family or friends tonight just to be safe." As the officers left with the eerie package, I realized my peaceful evening had transformed into a nightmarish game. The city's lights outside seemed dimmer, its secrets darker. The thought of a faceless enemy using such devious methods to instill fear and control was terrifying. With Whiskers in my arms, I decided to leave my apartment for the night, seeking refuge with loved ones. But the open-ended terror lingered, the knowledge that somewhere in the shadows, someone was orchestrating a wicked symphony. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds of my sister's guest room. Whiskers, perched on the windowsill, was chasing the moving shadows of birds outside. For a brief moment, it felt like any other morning, as if the preceding night was nothing more than a disturbing dream. But then the memory flooded back. The mysterious package, the warnings, the police. With a heavy heart, I reached for my phone on the nightstand, hoping for an update on the bizarre happenings. The breaking news alert was a punch in the gut. Wave of unexplained suicides and self-harm plagues the city. Skimming through the article, my worst fears were confirmed. Many residents, primarily from my apartment complex, were among the victims. Their only common thread, the unassuming music boxes delivered to them. Footage showed scenes of chaos, ambulances, police cars, and grieving families. Interviews with distraught neighbors painted a grim picture. Some spoke of seeing loved ones in trances drawn to the haunting tune of the boxes. Others described witnessing family members becoming increasingly agitated before inflicting harm on themselves. The gravity of the situation hit me hard. Had I opened the package, entranced by the eerie tune, I might have been another face on the news, another statistic in this inexplicable tragedy. The phone vibrated with an incoming call, snapping me out of the horrific images. It was Officer Daniels. "Mr. Morgan," he began, his voice weary and somber, "we're piecing things together. We believe the music boxes are emitting a specific frequency causing auditory hallucinations, leading to these tragic outcomes." I gulped, trying to steady my voice. "How is this possible? Who's behind this?" Officer Daniels sighed. "We're working on it. Just stay safe. Don't return to your apartment until we give the all clear." The conversation left me with a chilling realization. I had escaped a fate that had befallen many of my neighbors. The line between life and a tragic end had been a mere twist of a key, and the orchestrator of this wicked melody was still out there, possibly plotting the next move. Rain tapped lightly against the windows, its gentle pitter-patter accompanied by the distant howls of the October wind, blending with the eerie melodies of ghostly figures hanging from the trees outside. The glow of jack-o'-lanterns filtered through the curtains, casting unsettling orange shadows on the walls. The old Victorian house, adorned with spider webs and tales of spirits from Halloween lore, was where I grew up. Now 27 and having escaped to the city's clamor, I found myself drawn back to this haunted setting as my parents set off on a month-long European trip. The atmosphere was thick with Halloween suspense. Alone in the house for the first time on such a night was both thrilling and unnerving. Welcoming the solitude yet mindful of the night's tales, I cocooned myself in a blanket patterned with witches and black cats, sinking into the couch with a chilling ghost story in hand. My only companions, the methodical ticking of the ancient grandfather clock and the soft purring of my cat Mochi, her jet-black fur blending into the shadows. As the witching hour approached, my eyes grew heavy with the weight of ghostly tales and the ambience of the room. I decided it was time to brave the upper floor. The journey upstairs was accompanied by a flurry of childhood memories, whispered tales of ghostly sightings and eerie sounds in the house. Though I'd never encountered any specters myself, the cavernous silence amplified every creak and groan, allowing my imagination to conjure visions of lurking spirits. Seeking refuge under my quilt, with Mochi nestled beside me, I tried to dismiss the unsettling thoughts. Yet the echoing chime of the clock announcing the midnight hour sent shivers down my spine. I was on the brink of dismissing everything as the product of Halloween legends when an unmistakable sound froze me in place, the slow, haunting creak of the back door inching open. My heart pounded in my chest as soft, deliberate footsteps echoed below. Someone, or something, had entered. In a desperate bid for safety, I reached for my phone, thinking to call for help. But before I could even touch the screen, a chilling realization hit me. The handle of my bedroom door was beginning to turn. Mochi, sensing my distress, hissed and darted under the bed. Every horror movie I'd ever watched raced through my mind as I frantically searched for an escape route. The only way out of my room apart from the door was the window, but jumping from the second floor wasn't an option. The door handle stopped moving. Eerie silence enveloped the room. My mind raced, trying to grasp the reality of my situation. Was it a burglar or something far worse? Then a soft whisper came from the other side. "Is anyone there?" The voice sounded just as scared as I felt, adding another layer to my confusion. Taking a deep breath and summoning all my courage, I replied, "Who are you? What do you want?" There was a pause. I think I have the wrong house. I'm sorry." The voice trembled with genuine fear and uncertainty. Despite the danger, my curiosity piqued. "Wrong house? Why are you breaking in at all?" Another pause, longer this time. "It's a long story. Can we talk without the door between us?" Everything inside me screamed not to trust this voice, but a strange combination of curiosity and compassion made me approach the door cautiously. Slowly, I unlocked and opened it, keeping my phone ready to dial if things went south. In front of me stood a young man, probably in his early 20s, his eyes wide with panic, his hands raised in a gesture of surrender. He looked drenched from the rain and his clothes were torn in places. "What's your story?" I demanded, trying to sound braver than I felt. He swallowed hard. "My name's Jake. I was running. Someone's after me. I thought this was my friend's place. He lives in a house that looks similar to this one. I needed a place to hide. For a moment, I wasn't sure whether to believe him or not. The unexpected guest in my house was in genuine danger, and somehow our fates had intertwined on this stormy night. You better start explaining and fast, I urged Jake, keeping a careful distance but now more intrigued than threatened. Jake ran a shaky hand through his wet hair. I witnessed something I shouldn't have, a deal gone wrong. They noticed me and, well, they've been on my tail for hours. I lost them in the woods behind here, but I needed to find shelter. The gravity of his situation began to dawn on me. You brought them to my doorstep? I whispered, panic creeping back in. Jake looked genuinely remorseful. I didn't mean to. But in my panic I mistook your house for my friend's. He told me if I ever needed a safe place to come to his. I genuinely thought this was it. The rumble of engines intensified, now accompanied by the distant gleam of car lights. Peering through the window I saw the illumination of approaching headlights. We need to hide, I said urgently. Without wasting another second, I led Jake to the attic, a place I remembered playing hide-and-seek in as a kid. The old trunks and dusty curtains provided ample cover. Mochi, sensing the heightened tension, followed closely, her soft mews providing a stark contrast to our frantic movements. As we settled into our hiding spots, we heard the crashing sound of the back door being kicked open. Multiple footsteps echoed through the house, interspersed with low, urgent whispers. Jake and I locked eyes, a mutual understanding passing between us. Neither of us would give our location away. We listened, our breath shallow as the intruders searched the house. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, every minute feeling like an hour. But then, just as suddenly as it started, the noise began to recede. The intruders, seemingly convinced we weren't in the house, began to withdraw. Once their sounds faded entirely, Jake and I emerged from our hiding spots. He looked at me, his eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and regret. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I never meant to involve you in this." I took a deep breath, processing everything. "Let's call the police, and you're telling them everything." As dawn approached, the house was swarming with officers. Jake's pursuers were linked to a notorious gang in the city. By witnessing their crimes and evading them, Jake had unintentionally unraveled a part of their operations. After that scary night, Jake and I became close. We were two people brought together by a shocking event, and it left a mark on both of us. The police kept looking into things. I had a feeling the danger wasn't over yet. In the shadows of the night, if our tales from unsettling horror stories gave you a fright, press like and let it be known. Subscribe, so you're never alone in this haunting journey, and share, so others too can be wary. Until our next sinister tale, stay dark, dear listener.